Mama Calendar's in the building.
Hey.
Welcome. This is the first time you're in our new set.
Yep, it's good to be back here.
That's awesome. It's always a pleasure to have you here on the show. And so a few weeks ago, at the same table, I brought the team together for a reaction style video to the news in Utah when they banned Bibles in schools. And under that same video, a lot of people were commenting that homeschooling is a good alternative. It's a good option for parents who are really concerned about what's happening in schools nowadays. So I asked you to be on the show today to help me share some information for parents who would like to make that transition, but may not even know where to begin, what that looks like, or might be concerned, hey, I have a job. Like, how can I have a job and also homeschool my children? What options are out there? Okay. And let's just jump right in. So one thing to clear up, homeschooling is legal in all 50 states. Now, of course, according to what state you live in, there are different regulations and guidelines that you have to follow. But many states, they just require that parents give reports to different organizations, governing bodies called umbrella schools. Now, here in Tennessee, there are at least 37 different institutions that you can give these reports to. And it's really just meant to show that your child is progressing, and also you as the parent can issue a diploma at the end of your child's education, which will be as valid as a public school or private school or even a GED.
Okay. And if anyone is interested or if they want to know about the legal requirements for your state, there is an agency for that. It's the Homeschool Legal Defense Agency, hslda.org. And although the main office is located in Virginia, they have lawyers that are certified in every single state. So the first thing you need to do is find out what the requirements are for your particular state.
We'll put those links in the description of this video. Now, the transition from a child being in traditional school to homeschool, well, it's just that. It's a transition. Mm-hmm. And so, parents need to be aware that their child obviously has relationships there at school that they have taken the time to develop and build. And they also have a routine that was set in place. So transitioning to homeschooling, it's a different atmosphere and quite possibly a different routine as well, unless the parent decides to keep the same routine. And by that, I mean like waking up at the same time, breakfast, and then the schooling times is around the same time, or maybe they want to switch instead of having school in the morning, in the afternoon. Just having that clear communication and making a decision of what's the education is going to look like going forward is really important.
And I think what the education will look like going forward depends on the parent's purpose for teaching their child at home. So when I think of homeschool, I think of home education, not necessarily what is being done in traditional school. Some people just think of public school delivered at home.
Right.
So you need to know exactly what you want to do with your child. And once you determine where you're going to go, then from there, you will be able to craft how you go forward and how you're going to make sure your child benefits best. So just like when you're starting homeschool, the other thing is you should always start after a summer break, the long break, because
it gives time.
You give the child time to make that transition in their thoughts. Just like someone who's addicted to drugs who wants to come off, they're sent to a rehab center to detox. So you need to detox your child from traditional school and let them know that when you start back their schooling or their education in the new school year, that it's not going to be the same. It's going to be different. You talk a lot about it so they know what to expect, and it's not just a shock for them. Now, some children will be happy. Those children who learn differently, they hate school. They'll be happy, and if they know they have a say and you're going to be taking their interest into consideration, they'll be happy about that. But the child who learns in a typical way may have a problem. So know your child and do the detox, do the deschooling
That's good.
during the summer vacation.
All right. So, parents could feel overwhelmed at the prospect of doing this. So the idea of, I don't know, I guess going from being a parent to being a full-time teacher, what can you say to that?
There is no going from one to the other. A parent is always a full-time teacher.
Wait, are you saying that because you yourself were working in the education system? So you were by profession a teacher, but you were also my mom. So are you saying that because that was your experience? Or are you saying that every single parent, once they're a parent, is also a teacher?
I'm saying every parent is a teacher.
Okay.
A parent is their child's first teacher. You have the child from birth to whatever time you decide to send them to preschool or play school. Could be 2, 3, 4 years. You are teaching that child 24/7.
That makes sense.
You are your child's first and best teacher. And so you don't need to have any idea in your head that you're not qualified, you're not certified. The school systems do their best to make parents believe that they're not qualified to teach their own children.
Yeah.
That's not true. But I'm not going to get onto my soapbox. I'll just leave it there. As a mother or a father who wants to homeschool their child, you are the best teacher for your child. You know them better than any teacher in school.
So no degree, no problem. It's okay.
That's okay.
You're your child's teacher.
You just have to have your child's best interest at heart, the desire to be or to commit to being a proactive parent, that you're going to do whatever it takes to get to know your child best, their interests, their abilities, and use that to educate them.
Okay. So that would be, I suppose, the first step, getting to know your child, specifically in the educational setting.
Yes. Well, no. The first step is getting to know your child in general.
Okay. Yeah.
You need to know your child's skills. Every child has a different skill set. God doesn't make any cookie cutter person. Every brain is different. Just as your fingerprints are different, your brain is different. So every child learns differently. Every child comes with a different skill set. Things that they can do well and other things that they need a little more help in, they may be weak in. You need to know your child. And if you have more than one, you need to know each child.
Right.
So that you can tailor education for them so they will get personalized education. So the objective when you're homeschooling or when you are doing home education is not to finish an assignment. You want your child to learn concepts. And as they learn them and internalize them, then they are reflected in their behavior.
Okay.
So you don't want to be rushing to finish a worksheet. In fact, if you can do without worksheets, do without them.
Really?
And learn in different ways. Yes. So yeah, if you're doing math, you need a paper on which you can do the calculations on all of that. But then you can also teach fractions in the kitchen using a recipe. Right. And using cooking. You can teach reading in the supermarket with the cereal boxes. You become creative in how you're doing it. So then the child does not have an assignment to finish within a certain time frame. They have a concept to learn.
Right. And they've already seen how to apply it in all these different, because that's the thing, right? At least for me, a lot of students are like, why am I learning this? How am I going to use this in life? So to actually see it being used in life while you're learning it, that's going to deepen the impression and have a lasting effect.
Exactly. And one example of that is I used to teach high school geometry. And the students always said to me, I don't see how I can use that. This is a useless subject. So when we went to the field one day, I said, okay, we're going to walk. And some of you are going to walk the outline of the shape of the field. And some of us are going to walk from this corner straight across to the other corner. What did they learn? That the straight line joining 2 points is shorter than the going around the points. Yeah. So you can teach even math. You can teach through simple life experiences. And that's what parents need to strive for. Now, at first, it's going to take some time. There is a learning curve. You have to give yourself slack. So just know that and pray. If you're a Christian, pray. God gives you ideas. You'd be surprised at the ideas you wake up with in the morning. If you go to bed, if you pray about something and you go to bed thinking about it, you wake up in the morning with some creative ideas.
I like this quote. I'd like to read it for you. Our ideas of education take too narrow and too low a range, which is kind of what you were talking about earlier. There is need for a broader scope, a higher aim. True education means more than the pursuit of a certain course of study. It means more than a preparation for the life that is now. It has to do with the whole being and with the whole period of existence possible to man. It is the harmonious development of the physical, the mental, and the spiritual powers. When you're removing your child from traditional schooling into homeschooling, you're also taking them out of that one-size-fits-all type education and opening up the possibilities. So like a lot of students, they might be sitting in a big class and either the teacher's moving too fast or the teacher's moving too slow, or they're not explaining it in a way that makes sense. And if they keep asking questions, the teacher might start getting aggravated because she or he has all these other students to give their time to. So now transitioning into the home, not only are you able to cater to that child's needs in that area, but offer holistic education and development. And so it's just something to keep in mind as parents are deciding what kind of education they want to provide for their student.
Yeah, and in addition, there's just so much flexibility in homeschooling. So if you're worried, if a parent is worried about the child who's moving too slowly because they have a different learning style, or if they have a job and they figure, well, I'm working, how am I going to homeschool my child? Or any type of block that may come up in your mind, just think there are so many different forms of homeschooling. You just need to make a choice of the one that fits into your lifestyle, your family's lifestyle best.
Yeah. And we were talking earlier about choice and how there's a solution if you seek for it. So getting frustrated or saying, I work, so this is not an option for me. It's always an option if you prioritize your child and their development, the child that God has given you, the child that you're a steward of. If this is something that you want to do, there is a way to do it.
There is, like with everything else.
Yeah.
What I have learned in life is people find solutions for what they value. Just like people, how someone spends their money tells you what they value.
Yes.
How someone spends their time also tells you what they value. So if you value your child's eternal salvation, you are going to pay attention to their education, because education and redemption are one and the same. What the child learns in school could determine the spiritual outcome of their life.
That's right.
So if you put value on your child and their education, then there are options out there, and you can choose one or you can choose a combination of some. You have the opportunity to make your homeschooling experience fit into your lifestyle and your child's life.
So what are some of those options that are out there for homeschooling?
So there is the co-op, which is where a group of parents come together and they decide that they're going to educate their children in a shared setting. And they can decide on how that looks. They can use one home as the base, where the other parents are going to take their children to this one place, so the learning materials can stay there, and they determine the times that they're going to do that. So you have X amount of hours to do the things at home, to go to trips, to go do it, and then from the hours of A to Z, or 5 to 7, 4 to 6, whatever it is, 2 to 3, you are going to go to this place for your schooling. Or you can decide that you're just going to rotate it among families. So they meet 1 week here, 1 week there, 1 week here, every other week. It depends on you decide. Among yourself, with the group, you can decide. And co-ops are really easy to find. Any church in your neighborhood will probably have at least one person who is in a co-op, and you can find information that way. And even if you're not a religious person, it doesn't matter. If you're into co-ops, you can get the information from a church.
Okay.
Or you can call up schools. Usually school districts have one person that's designated
For co-ops.
to overlook homeschooling.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
So if you call the school and say, I'm thinking of homeschooling my child, who can I talk to? They'll direct you to that person. And then you can ask the person, do you have a list of co-ops in our area? So do the research and find a co-op, one that works for you, that works best for your family. And then there is what's called a pod. Now, a pod is meant to mimic a public school classroom. It's for a small group of children, and it became really popular during the pandemic because parents wanted this great level of control over their children, whose company were the children in, so they can control the spread of infection or that type of thing. So the families come together, they collaborate, and they hire a teacher who is going to be in one location with this small group of children, and it presents a collective learning environment.
Okay.
And then I have a friend who does world schooling. So it could be world schooling or road schooling. And this is learning on the go. So these parents have a different perspective. They want location-based education. They want their children to learn about, if it's road schooling, then it's usually within your country and you're going from state to state, from village to village. So you want your child to learn about the culture, the food, the habits, different things. So you're teaching history and geography just by the locations you go to. If
That's
you're
really
doing,
cool. So instead of
yes.
like you're going through the social studies books and you're at the site in which the book is talking about. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you had a version of that with all the mission trips we went on. So when you were doing certain things in social studies, you had a better concept than the other children in your class because you had that lived experience. So some parents decide that's the lifestyle they want for their children in terms of education. My friend who does world schooling, her children, they go to Mexico, they go to Europe, different countries in Europe. So you can teach languages. Your children can learn different languages that way. So if that's one of your focuses, then that's what you do. And as you travel, if you're doing world schooling and you're going to different countries, the amount of time you can stay in any one country or location is dependent on that country's government and their laws, their immigration laws and all of that. So you have to make sure that you do your homework before you make your plan, so you don't get into you don't have any red tape to go through. So that's, now usually parents who do the world schooling or road schooling, they have an online aspect to that because there are certain subjects that the children would subscribe to an online school, and the children complete some of their subjects online because the focus is so much on the lived experience.
Right. Okay.
So that's that. And then there is unschooling. Now, some parents could go to an extreme point of unschooling and just let the child go wild, whatever the child is interested in, that's what they're going to learn. That's not the unschooling that I'm talking about. I don't call that unschooling. I just call that wild and crazy schooling. So the unschooling I'm referring to is more organic and it's passion-led. So you're looking at your child, you're studying your child, and you see what they are interested in and what they learn and how they learn naturally. So you let that drive what you're teaching them. You're using their interests and their passions to teach them all the other things that you know they need to learn. So you're going to focus on hands-on, real-life experiences. You're going to take them to places that they enjoy being. You're going to be engaging them in projects that are right in their area of gifting, their area of ability, their area of interest.
And then spending that much time with your kids, getting to know their interests and seeing how they're spending their time, what they're spending their time doing will help also. it will help the parent guide the child as to future education endeavors, like what to do in college. I was talking to one of the parents that I interviewed. She was saying her son was really into photography and just video work in general. And he would spend a lot of time looking at tutorials, getting involved in groups and such. So when she saw that and all the time he was putting into that and that he knew a lot already, when it came time for college, she recommended he go into business instead of video, because she's like, why are you paying for something that you've already spent so much time learning about? Go into business so you can merge the two and become and use that, you know, for the rest of your life if that's what you'd like to do.
Yeah.
But a lot of parents might miss that if he was spending all of his time, or either not have the opportunity to spend so much time with that, with all the traditional school load, or miss that interest because he was doing that at school and not necessarily at home.
Yeah. And also the other thing is, well, one of my friends who I interviewed for this also, her young daughter loves animals, and she has incorporated her own business.
The daughter has,
yes,
sweet,
and she house sits animals for people in their neighborhood.
That's great.
Like yesterday when I was talking to her, she was house sitting a bunny rabbit,
which is perfect because she's home. That family is either at school or at work. She's home during those times, and she can still get her work done while house sitting. And she gets
paid for that.
That's
so she learns about business. She learns the ins and outs of planning a business, registering a business, making a business plan. All of these things she's learning way younger.
She probably knows how to pay her taxes already.
She's learning that way younger than people, because they don't teach you those things until you get to college. And that's if you're doing a business course.
Right.
So there's just so much opportunity when you decide that you're going to take your child's education and take control over it and let it happen at home. Now, one thing I need to say about unschooling. Whereas the other forms of schooling have documents that come with them, if you get a curriculum from an online school, there are ways of documenting what you're teaching your children. If you're doing unschooling, you have to know, you have to be able to document the projects that you do, translate them into a format that meets your state, or if your child has a college in mind, the college's requirements, the educational requirements. Because all of this freestyle education is going to be for nothing if your child can't move forward educationally. I have a lot of friends who, when you talk about homeschooling, they talk about socialization and all these other things. Research actually shows that children who are homeschooled are better in socialization. They do better at jobs. Colleges now have scholarships reserved for homeschooled children because they perform better. They have a greater interest in their education, and they get better grades. They get like 20% better grades than the average child who's schooled in the regular way. Yeah. So all of the myths that people have about the negative aspects of homeschooling, that's really not true. And then, of course, there's the do-it-yourself parent who just wants to take the eclectic mix, take some of this, some of that, and create their own program. They find a curriculum that works. They take their time to develop and find it, and they use it, and homeschool their child or home educate their child fully.
All right. So when it comes to finding curriculums, the possibilities are endless. Finding the one that works best for your child's learning style is the route to go. And what do I mean by learning style? There are three. There's an auditory learner, it's one who prefers to hear. There's the visual learner, sight, and the kinesthetic learner, one that likes to move, run, jump, or hold something tangible in their hands to understand the concept. So when I was in school, I remember you finding my textbooks on audio, and I would listen to them while reading. It would just help me move faster. For the visual learners, there are tutorials of video classroom type sessions that they can plug into. And for the kinesthetic learners, there are programs, there are curriculums set in place that incorporate objects and movement within the lesson to make the point.
Now, when you're talking about learning styles, there is something that I learned early in my training. All children are kinesthetic up to the age of 9.
Okay.
So you want to make sure that whatever you're teaching your child, there is some type of activity and action that's connected with that concept. That's one of the reasons a lot of children have trouble in traditional school. Because
that's right. Once you get into first grade, you're at a desk.
And everything is all fun and fancy, and you get up and you move around and you play with the blocks, and as soon as you get into first grade, you're expected to sit at this desk,
cubicle,
on this chair, cubicle jail, and just focus on this talking head. And so it just kills the child's creativity, because you have to focus so much on staying still, and then they don't even want you to move around. You move around,
you get sent to the principal's office.
The thing is, the teacher may have an aversion to movement. Their vision they may get distracted by movement, and they don't even realize that. So the child who is constantly moving, they're like, why can't you keep still? Not realizing the problem is not the child, the problem is you. So you want to make sure that if you're homeschooling, you have movement incorporated in what you're doing, regardless of whether you think your child prefers to hear things or to see the information. Now, when children get to the age of 9, usually a lot of boys remain auditory, kinesthetic, where girls move towards being more auditory, and some boys move towards being more visual. But there's a group of boys that remain kinesthetic. So if you have a boy who's kinesthetic in high school, you better allow that child to stand by the ironing board and write whatever he has to write, instead of sitting at the table to do his written assignments. If he wants to write, stand and write. If he wants to kneel and write, and if you're home, you have the opportunity. You have the freedom to do all of that. So
which is a good point, because it's not saying that the child is never still or writing and things like that. It's just that they may need more breaks, or at least the ability to stand up. There's standing desks now instead of just the sitting ones, and that will help them. There's even desks I've seen, standing desks, but the seat has like a foot pedal where they could be moving their feet while they're learning, all these different things. It's not just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's not important for that particular person. And so just incorporating that, and they're very quiet too. Those bicycle type chairs, incorporating that will help your child learn.
Yep. And for some children, it helps them to concentrate. For some children, they can have the stress balls, the squeeze balls. They can have it on their lap, and while they're listening.
Was it a fidget spinner? Remember the age of fidget spinners?
So I don't know how well those worked, but there are other things that they can hold. They can sit on the exercise balls. The exercise balls now have frames. You set it in a frame. So when they're sitting, there's some level of movement. It also develops their core muscles. Right. And a lot of children with learning problems have weak core muscles. So all of these things, there's so much available, so much knowledge. If parents would just approach homeschooling with an open mind and be willing to learn and be creative, and you can ask your children for ideas. They're really creative. You will find that you get a lot more from your child. The resistance to do the things that they used to think were difficult goes away, because now it's fun and they're learning. And you also have a better opportunity of using different strategies, different learning techniques. If they're learning differently, they're now willing to try something new, try it a different way, because it's a fun and engaging way.
That makes sense. All right, so let's get into resources and support groups. So Keith and his wife Rachel, they use Home Life Academy. It's nationwide. And with this group, it's a non-traditional K-12 private school for homeschoolers, offering record-keeping services, which I found was awesome, academic and homeschool counseling. You're talking about like the support system that's necessary within homeschooling circles, and documents such as transcripts and diplomas, and they offer so much more. So that might be an option that you'd want to look up if you're looking for like curriculums or support in the area of homeschooling. Mom, you also have something coming up. It's called the Confident Parent Summit. What's that about?
Yes. So I have 16 experts in various areas who are coming together to share their knowledge with parents. And we're really targeting parents of children with learning differences, because what I found is that most of the times when a parent finds, oh, the child is having trouble in school, and they get them tested and they find out, okay, your child has ADHD, your child has dyslexia, your child has whatever the label is that they give to this learning difference.
Not disability.
It's not a disability,
difference.
it's a learning difference. Whatever label they give, then because of the way the information is conveyed, parents now get so concerned. All they're thinking is, what program can I find? Or what tutor can I hire? Whereas there are certain areas of life and living that are just as crucial, like dealing with navigating the chaos that's happening in your house, or dealing with the overwhelm that you're feeling because you don't know what to do to help your child, or managing your stress, managing your child's stress. There are all of these areas of life that are so important. So I have these people coming in and they are speaking in their area. So what I talked, those three things are some of the topics, and one that I really like is dealing with your child in their area of genius.
Okay.
So supporting your child in the area of genius. Every child is a genius, and you just have to find out where your child's genius is. So it's all online. You can watch it from the comfort of your home. You can watch it every day for 5 days next week, from Monday to Friday.
Just coming Monday.
Yes,
Okay.
July 24 through 28. It's going to be online.
And how much is it?
It's free. Yes, I like
We
freemium.
like that word.
I like freemium. It's free. It's
Okay.
free. And I know that parents have so many expenses, so much that they need to pay money for, but they have so many needs that are not met, and they can't pay for certain things, that these experts have agreed to come and share their knowledge freely. On top of that, they're offering gifts. So at the end of each video, at the end of each topic, that expert offers a free gift that you can click and download. Yes, a resource. So you can put into place the actionable technique or tool that they talked about. You can actually do it right away and see some results.
That's awesome. Okay, so where can people find that? What's the website?
So the website is The Confident Parent Live, live.com.
Okay, great. And we'll have that below this video. All right, so other resources is the Board of Education.
That's right.
Just because you're moving your child from school doesn't mean that the Board of Education isn't a resource that you can plug into. One of the parents that I interviewed, she homeschooled her kids, her two sons, from kindergarten to 5th grade. She lived in New Jersey and Michigan, and in both of those states, the cities that she lived in, she connected with the board and asked them which curriculums they were using. And then after she taught her children, the board would send them exams. The children will take the exams, and when they passed them, the board would advance her kids to the next grade. So that was a great help. And as you said before, the Board of Education has a co-op representative.
Yes.
In there.
They have homeschooling representatives who have information on co-ops and other homeschooling information that you need.
And then for those who have children who were in school, because someone might be watching who they have a young child and they're just going to start homeschooling from the beginning. But for those who their children were in school and then they're taking them out, your school could still be a resource. You can talk to the teachers that taught your child to learn not only the books that they're using, but also maybe what they recognized in your child or saw as either a learning difference or where they excelled, so you can hone in on that at home. Schools also provide a place for your child to take exams and to join in extracurricular activities.
Not just extracurricular activities. Those activities that all the children do, like music and gym and band, most of the school districts will allow homeschoolers to come in and do, and join those.
Okay. Now, curriculums range in prices and accessibility. So if you're on a tight budget, I encourage you to utilize libraries or online thrift stores to get the books and other resources that you'll need.
And I want to make sure that you understand when you are moving to using a curriculum for your homeschooling, do not make the mistake of buying an entire curriculum.
Okay.
Because you don't know. When someone creates a curriculum, they do that from their own education philosophy, and it may not align with yours. So you want to make sure that the curriculum you're using will align with your philosophy. And so if you think you need help in one topic, start with one. Start with math. Start with English. Whatever the one is that you think you may be a little weak in, just start with one and one section of it. You buy just that little piece and you try it. Because then you know, okay, if you tried it and it worked, right, good. You're going to get some more from that. But don't just buy a whole thing. And you may find that you may need to buy the math curriculum from one company and the English curriculum from another company. You may need to mix and match. So be careful about how you buy curriculum.
And you say that, yeah, if you buy it in bulk, you might find the science one of no use to you if it's full of evolution. Whereas if you only bought the math from this particular institution, that's great. And then find a creationist institution for science and what have you. So that's a great point.
Yeah. If your child was in school and you're moving to homeschooling, you don't want them to think that they're being punished, because homeschooling is actually a blessing. It's a plus. It's not a punishment.
That's right.
You want to think of it as home education, because everything counts. Every aspect of life and living counts. And so you want to explain to your child that they're going to be educated at home so they can actually learn more than they could possibly learn in school, and they will do more of things they like than they would ever get the opportunity to do in a traditional school. And the other thing is, when you are organizing your formal sessions, when you actually sit down and do written work, plan those things when their neighborhood friends are in school. You don't want the child to feel like, oh, I have to be doing this and my friends are home from school, I can't go outside to play.
Right.
You don't want that to happen. Because that's one of the ways that they develop their social skills. They still have friends in the neighborhood that they can play with and go to different functions with and interact with. So you want to do that. And then if they know that if they have a date with a friend, well, my friends are going to be playing ball outside tomorrow at 5:00, and they have to do their schoolwork, the sit-down work at 2:00, they're going to get it done. If they're going to develop the self-discipline to make themselves do what they need to do within the time frame so that they can play. So play becomes a reward. If you're thinking of beginning the homeschooling journey, or if you've already begun it, you just begun and you knew, I want to encourage you to be patient with yourself. Be adaptable. Because there is a learning curve. When you start any new thing, there is a learning curve. So homeschooling is no different. And you want to make sure that you leave your mind, leave yourself open to the adjustments that you will have to make. You must make adjustments because you're new at it and you're learning. And also give your child some leeway. Mm-hmm. The same way you're going to be open and allow yourself time for adjusting and be patient with your child, extend the same attitude to your child. And I want you to understand also that it is really important to learn how your child learns best. When children discover how they learn best, they take off. They now can take ownership of their learning because they know exactly how they learn. So spend time getting to know how your child learns, and so you can choose the best educational approach for them. And I want to also highlight something we spoke about earlier. Parents do not need any special qualifications or certification to teach their children.
Yeah.
The success of your homeschooling, your home education journey does not depend on a piece of paper. There are no qualifications that you need for that. It is your God-given duty and your stewardship responsibility. That comes from God, not any human who gives you a paper. And I want to also reiterate, because we spoke about this, when you homeschool your child, when you take education home, you are nurturing your child's individual talents.
Yeah.
So you're now giving your child a personalized education without a label. Because the children in public school who have to get personalized education, they have to get this IEP, an individualized education plan, and they're considered to be special education. So you can personalize your child's education by taking them home and teaching them, and they wouldn't have to be labeled as some person who's less than in the learning world or in the academic world. So nurture your child's unique strengths, and remember that you're preparing them for success in life, not to pass a test.
Yeah, that's a good one.
No adult was ever asked when they went to an interview, or if they have a business and they gave a proposal for a job, no one ever asked them, what did you get on that 4th grade state test?
Or even Regents exams, or if you're from New York, Regents exams in high school. They're not looking
they
at those scores.
never ask that.
Right.
So stop teaching your child to pass a test, or talking down or scolding your child because they didn't pass a test. A test is just feedback. It just tells you what the child learned in terms of the concepts that were taught and what they need more help in. That's all it is, feedback. Just like behavior is. If you're homeschooling your toddler or your elementary school child, early child, 2nd grader, and the child throws a tantrum, behavior is feedback. It's a symptom of an underlying problem. Find out what the problem is and fix it.
That's good.
If you can't fix it yourself, get help. Find support. Someone has had that problem before, and they know how to deal with it. So do your research, find them, talk to people. Don't be afraid to tell people, I don't know how to teach my child math because they don't seem to understand the way I'm explaining it. Everybody has a problem in something. Every adult there's something that's difficult for everyone. The most brilliant person has some area of difficulty in something. So there's no need to feel embarrassed or ashamed. The whole point is, and this is the last thing, I'm going to get off my soapbox.
No, this is good stuff.
You want to inspire greatness in your child. You don't want to kill your child's desire to learn. You want to make learning so enjoyable that you inspire greatness in them. You want to unleash their full potential and create a brighter future, not just for the present, but for generations to come, because you hold that power in your hand as a parent.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mama. Much appreciated.
You're welcome.
And thank you so much to the parents who helped me in this research. I understand, I definitely know that this is probably like a drop in the ocean of all the resources and information that is out there. So if you are a parent or a guardian who has homeschooled your child or other children and you have a tip that you can share, please put that in the comments section below.
And I also want to say, these are my own opinions, our own opinions, and the information we gleaned from friends who homeschool. There is no hard and fast rule for homeschooling. So if in your mind you think you want to do something different, go ahead and do it.
Absolutely.
Because we're not saying this is the only way to do it. We're just talking from experience and based on our own experience and the people that we've spoken to.
We actually have a student here in the studio who transitioned from traditional school into homeschooling. And so we're going to have her come on the show, but we're going to put that behind our paywall. So if you'd like to see that, you can go to patreon.com/Little Light Studios, or you can go directly to the Little Light Studios website, littlelightstudios.tv. And once you donate, we'll email you this episode. Mom, thank you again for coming on the show. The information to your summit is the confidentparentlive.com.
.com.
That will be in the description, as well as the other resources we talked about in the show. And we'll see you next time on LED.
It was a pleasure being here.